Okay? It was sent to all of you folks, okay?
don't know whether we're
But it was
going
never
forward
read
with
to
zoning
the
until we
committee.
know what happens.
Just give all the information to Brian.
If the planning board chooses
Hey Brian, it's Bill Wynn from Goffstown today. Wonderful meeting. You guys worked very hard. Out of curiosity, how did things go tonight in your mind?
I would say it went pretty well. We did get a positive recommendation from our committee tonight to the planning board, so to me I think that's at least a small success. The plan was amended, I think mostly in a good way. I don't know if everything in there would have been what my recommendation was, but you always learn to make some changes, or I guess.
I'm just amazed at the fact that, with everybody that's involved here, everything that you did tonight and the coordination to get things done and the corrections made, everybody was in concert and in tune tonight. That was really a good thing to see, at least from my point of view, and I'm sure whoever was watching on GTV or whatever the case may be. So from here, it now goes to the planning board. What about the zoning code itself? What happens with that?
Well, the zoning code, it won't be really considered until we get through this process.
Okay.
We're looking at, the plan itself for the planning board now. And once we get through that, then we're going to start digging into the code itself. We've been presented with the draft code.
Right.
It's available, but
Yeah.
we haven't gotten much past that. So
Right.
Once we
Right.
do get through the plan portion of it, that'll be a lot.
So there's another part to this whole process then, with regard to, now that this is done, goes to the planning board. So who looks at all the zoning? What is it, CD3 and? Who looks at that?
The committee in general, will be looking at that as well.
Okay.
Anybody from the public is welcome to look at it and comment on it.
Okay.
And, we'll have our town attorney actually also looking at it this time.
All right, yeah.
That's more of a legal document, and we want to make sure that it's
Great.
In line with all those New Hampshire state laws and everything that need to be considered.
Right.
And so,
Right.
but that's, like I said, a step that we haven't quite gotten to, at least doing all the considerations of that document yet.
All right.
But we're going to get into it a lot more in depth once we get through the plan with the planning board.
Okay, but this is after the planning board. If they approve it, then you get into that. Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for your time tonight,
Yeah, and
Brian. I appreciate it.
let me just also say,
Oh, sure.
I think the committee tonight did a really good job of hopefully addressing some of the community's concerns. I mean, they went to the effort of deleting the Cody's Corner drawing, which I think has been somewhat controversial. They wrote a letter to everyone, and I think to me that's a big effort on the committee's part to show that we're trying to listen to what the people are saying and try to address their concerns. We don't want to be this envisioned thing that
Right.
just comes across as we're taking away people's property, or we're taking away their ability to operate their business or anything like that.
Yeah.
We're just trying to make something good happen in Pinardville, create some community character that
Yeah.
may need some improvement. So.
Well, I appreciate you spelling all this out, and for the simple reason that normally something like this would go at the end, but this meeting was well over 2 hours long tonight. So I'm going to put it at the beginning, and if somebody wants to watch it from there, they can. You covered it very well. Is there anything else you might want to add? Or?
If you guys are in support of this plan, please come to the planning board on September 12th. We need everybody that does support it to come out and speak their mind. I think there's been a lot of voices that haven't been heard, and we need those voices to be heard. So.
Great. Well, great. If you would like to get the word out or anything between now and then, call me up. I'll come down. We'll sit in your office, and we can do something there.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Have a good night.
You too.
John, this is Bill Wynn from Goffstown today. I'm just wondering how things went tonight in the meeting. What's your take?
I think they went pretty well tonight. We made a few more corrections in the plan itself. We voted to send it along to the planning board. It will get dealt with there on September 12th. So hopefully anyone watching this, feel free to come over and participate in the meeting and the public comment.
Let me ask you a question. Now that this is the feel-good part of it today that got finished up. Now we have to look at zoning, and who does that, and when does that start?
Well, the planning board will look at it, but we have a zoning board. All this is still underway. It's not anywhere near done, but the main part of it will be discussed and voted for on the 12th.
Okay, and if that goes through on the 12th, then we start looking at the codes, right?
That's right.
All right, John.
Yeah, so
Well,
it's still premature to make any of those decisions, but we're on our way to a plan, and whether or not we approve this particular plan, we certainly are looking forward towards the plan of the Mass Road corridor and following through with that, and the west side of Daniel Plummer on the commercial industrial part of that road.
Right. I want to personally thank you for your hard work, you and everybody on the ad hoc team so far. It's amazing the work that you have to do in the time, obviously, before you even get to this meeting, that you have to put in. It's not something you just show up at, and we extend our thanks to you.
My pleasure, as well as probably everyone on the board. I enjoy volunteering for the good of Goffstown, the people here, and I really enjoy it myself. So.
And great.
I
We'll
have
see
the
you
chance to do it.
in a few weeks.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks, Bill.
Hi, we're here this evening with Katie Benner. She just came out of the building, Town Hall, from the Planned Pinardville Ad Hoc Committee, and she's always had something to say. Let's see what she has to say about tonight's meeting.
Well, Bill, I'm very disappointed that we got 5 votes for this plan, okay? Even though I submitted a total of 270 signatures against this plan, and also 190 against the unblocking of the streets, which is a total of 460 signatures. And including in this is also 45 businesses, which is probably more than 90% of the businesses on the Mass Road corridor, Pinardville corridor. So the people don't want this, but no one's listening to us. How do we get to this point? You know, we're fighting for our lives. We don't want to give up our streets for sidewalks and for parking. We don't want to give away our backyards, okay, for alleys. We don't want that. And the businesses, they don't want this either. They don't want to be on top of each other, 5 feet in between. They don't want to be zero frontage on the road. That's ridiculous. We're not Boston.
Let me interrupt you here and just bring out a couple of things. The first thing that comes to my mind, that Brian Rose and Planning Board Chairman Heichel mentioned that the zoning code portion of it isn't even discussed yet. Okay, this is just the plan, the feel-good thing, the look of it, what people can expect. The code hasn't even been considered yet. That's the next phase. So I am of the impression, correct me if I'm wrong, and you can certainly say what you feel, the feel-good session of how things can look, could look, and would look based on a zoning smart code that hasn't even been discussed yet. That's yet to be done. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it doesn't look very good so far, and I think with the smart code being implemented, it's going to be worse. Right now, we're seeing apartment buildings and apartment complexes in the Shaw's and Hannaford parking lots. That's not good. This whole plan is not good. We want it scratched, but they're not listening to us.
Okay, so what we're talking about is the whole plan being scrapped. But are you mentioning what has happened so far, or are you speaking to the actual smart code that hasn't even been discussed yet?
But it's in the agenda, though. You know, it's online. Okay, the smart codes are online, and I don't think they're going to change very much because they haven't changed very much in this plan. They changed a few words maybe, and on Cody's Corner, okay, they made the picture disappear. It doesn't make the problem disappear. I mean, the problem's still there. It's still this whole smart code and zoning issue. They're not going to change it very much. They have it set in their mind. That's what they want, and that's what they want it to go through.
Okay, Katie, well, thank you very much. And Gerard at Large might be talking about this tomorrow morning. You might want to call him.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Have a good evening, and appreciate your help, the people that are behind you, to do what you're doing in support of them.
All right, well, thank you.
Good evening. Welcome to the August 27th meeting of the Pinardville Ad Hoc Committee. As usual, let us introduce ourselves. Cheryl, let's start with you, please.
Oh, Cheryl Anderson, Community Rep.
Dick Mars, Community Rep.
Andrew Catter, Economic Development Council Rep.
Robert Schaefer, Member at Large.
Rosemary Garrettson, Pinardville Rep.
Gail LeBrecq, Recording Secretary.
Mark Lemay, Selectman's Rep.
John Heichel, Planning Board Rep.
And I'm Brian Rose, Planning and Zoning Administrator.
Okay. First item on the agenda is acceptance of the minutes, and I will entertain a motion to accept with changes since I have a bunch of them. So do I have a motion?
Motion.
I'll second.
All right. With that, the very first one is that in the people noticed for attendance, John Heichel, Planning Board Representative, is missing, so let's put him in there. And the next one is one that I missed but was pointed out to me tonight. It says minutes meeting of July 30th, it should say meeting of August 20th. Then, down under presentation, the third sentence, it says, we saw that as an opportunity to look at. I would recommend that we say the Board of Selectmen saw that as an opportunity, so that we clarify who the "we" is. On page 7, one, two, three, four, the fifth paragraph down. Rosemary Garrettson said it reads that it is as an outgrowth of Manchester's early 20th century's fall. I would suggest instead of, it should say, oh no, it says outgrown, it should say outgrowth. On page 9, third from the bottom, unless Cheryl and I somehow became one,
Oh, hey, we're related.
it should say Rosemary Garrettson noticed.
Yes, we did.
On page 10, the very first sentence, Rosemary Garrettson suspended the committee discussion to being public. It should be to begin public comment. And then in the paragraph where Frank Piacentini is speaking, he says,
Is that also on page 10?
yes, he says he thinks Mark LeMay hit the nail on the hit, and I think it was Ed. On page 15, fourth paragraph, Rosemary Garrettson said they, and I think again it should say the Board of Selectmen to clarify who they are. And on page 19, the last paragraph before adjournment, it says Bill Wright, and I believe it was Brian Wright, not Bill. Does anybody else have any corrections, adjustments, adds, deletes? No? In that case, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
before we get into doing the plan and the review of the comments and such, I just wanted to point out, I have put in front of you another copy of the charter, and that has one change that was made to it.
And that was the,
That was based on a meeting last night from the Board of Selectmen.
right,
They all voted to amend the committee membership based on requests to, or I guess letters of resignation But the only one they reduced this on this list is the St. Anselm College representative.
Correct.
And then a letter was sent out to Tony Martz asking for reconsideration
For GIC.
to come back and still serve. And we haven't received any response from Tony on that.
And Mike as well, and I haven't.
Or Mike.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything from
Okay.
any one of those two yet, so.
And then, were those the only two that were presented to you for consideration to remove, or was the
Last night, we got another one.
Jessie Lynn Tatro?
Yeah, she's starting a new job, and due to the fact that her new job is now just gonna put her over the edge, and she feels that the committee would suffer by her not being able to devote the time that she needs to devote to the committee, so she's asked for resignation.
And did the board consider at all reducing the committee membership based on her resignation too, or just?
We did last night for the St. Anselm's rep. We are waiting to hear what the people, Tony Martz and Mike, to see what they are, and that could change again. We could drop those two people again. We could drop two more again, and we won't know that till not next week, but the week after. Next week is a holiday, so we're not.
So you consider it again on another meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody should have received the comments that were made by Brian Wright. And before we work on the changes or corrections or whatever you want to call it to the existing plan, I'd like to open up a discussion regarding any of those comments that you may have. So does anybody have any comments regarding those notes that Brian made?
Build off a couple of these.
Okay.
Comments, one, this is, others have other comments, but, one I'll leave till we get into the editing area, because it relates directly to the plan. But, it talks about the public outcry and vocal minorities normal. Some of this seems a little, beyond what they've been experienced in the past. And so, I was wanted to talk about that aspect of it in terms of public outcry in those areas of concern, in terms of the function of this committee, as well as what our role is. There's been a lot of talk about letting the plan, the committee dissolve or kill it, things like that. I was wondering, has there been any position from the selectmen or the planning board in terms of that we can rely on?
Yep, we asked the question last night, the Board of Selectmen asked the question last night, and the answer given by the town administrator was that the gentleman we're looking for questions and answers is on vacation till the 29th.
Okay.
So he will be back after the 29th, and we do not have a meeting because of the holidays, so we're hoping at our next meeting the questions we have asked will be answered, and by then, whether it's still in our hands or the planning board's hands, the answers to those questions will be passed along.
Okay. Is some of that questioning in terms of how this committee moves forward?
How the committee moves forward, what the outcome of the committee is, whether we move forward with it or not move forward with it, stop it here. We're waiting for those answers to come back.
Okay. Can just lay out some of the concerns that may go into that, questioning with them. And this also goes with the planning board, because what I was thinking about this after last week is that in essence you're the elected officials, we aren't. And so we're kind of in this between position, that we're hearing public concerns about letting the committee drop and fall or kill it or whatever, but we can't do anything about that. We're not in a position to. The planning board, selectmen are in that position.
As I understand it, and as I believe it, all I believe that you're allowed to do is make a recommendation, correct, Brian? That's all, they're a committee to make a recommendation to the, either board of selectmen or wherever it may be.
And that's my understanding
Yes.
as well. So that's the concern, is that we're in that position, so we can't really respond to those issues. And so, what I was hearing last week at the selectmen's meeting was a little concerning, and I kind of suggested it last week, and I want to bring it up a little bit more today, is that there was a lot of discussion about letting it die, or killing it, or whatever, how we can get out of this. I listened last night, it sounded like there was a little more pullback on that, and that was welcome to hear that. What my concern is that, since that's been kind of put out there, I'm wondering if you'd be willing, both the planning board and the selectmen, to consider making a public statement of support of the efforts of the committee, not necessarily what the outcome is. And that you can take the heat for that, because that's really, in an elected position, you can respond to that. And it would put us in a position to say, we really can't deal with that issue, please direct it to the selectmen and the planning board. But the concern I have is, some of us are getting signaled out in this process, but we can't deal with it. And I'd be happy to respond to people and talk to them, privately about the plan and what this thing is all about, but if I start getting into this with different people, then, and they still want to kill it or whatever, I can't deal with that side of it. I can only explain the plan, and I don't want to go down that road, and then all of a sudden, the rug's pulled out from under us, and we're left hanging and vulnerable.
I know the Board of Selectmen will not make any comment or any decision on this entire plan until we've heard from the legal part of the,
That's fine.
we were hoping to have an answer, but the answer that Sue got back was, he's on vacation till the 29th. Unfortunately, the 29th, we have to wait till then, and that involves that plus the holiday, so, if Sue can get something out in the mail. I think, and let me just digress from comments and everything like this. Anybody that has worked on any type of ad hoc committee in this town, what do we look for when we're looking for committee members? We're looking for people that have the specifics and special traits to work with the committees. I mean, it's not unusual for the committees to go, or for us, or as we pick the committees, to go looking for somebody who's affiliated or associated with it. And I mean, as I remember back on the committee that deals with the outdoors, what's that committee there?
Conservation.
Conservation Committee. I mean, at one point in time, on the Conservation Committee, I mean, there was people that were very well talented in the field of outdoor, I mean, that helped that committee a lot. I mean, we don't pick people that, like Tony Marks, their expertise is a benefit to this committee as I see it, and the selectmen feel the same way. I don't feel that because people are on that, or do that type of work, they should be spited from being on that committee. By them being on that committee will help us make the right decision for the town, and hopefully better the town, make the town a better place to live. Like I said, we were hoping to have an answer for this board tonight, but unfortunately the answer I got, and the answer that I can tell you is, we won't know anything till August 29th, unfortunately. But,
Okay.
I mean,
Can we work towards building public support, at least internally or from the leadership,
Yeah.
so that,
yeah.
because, I've gone through all the press, I've heard,
Yeah.
read and heard it, but I don't see the counter to it, and that's what,
And
we can't do it.
And it goes back again,
Yeah.
we will not make a comment until we hear from.
Oh, I understand, after that, I'm
Yeah,
saying, are you willing to
yes,
go down
after
that road?
that,
and-
after that, yes, I will
I'm not saying
go out on
no.
the limb and say, we're either A, gonna support it, or B, not support it. I mean, and
Yep.
until we legally hear what, the legal counsel is going to tell us, we're going to make that decision only after that.
Okay.
And, I'm hoping the Board of Selectmen can come to a decision that will be, good for the town and work for the town. I mean, this plan here, as I look through it and go through it, there's a lot of good.
Yeah.
The things that are here, as I said last week, if you look at some of the pictures, some of the wording, if he would have made the pictures, made the wordings, and picked things out for Pinardville, not some place that's in Ohio or California, I think it would have been a lot better. I think We had issues with language, not being on the same terminology. I think that hindered us a little bit. And looking at some of the pictures that, that are in here, I mean, it's just,
Mark,
Well,
can I just ask a question? Because I'm really confused about that statement, because the drawings actually are Pinardville drawings.
yeah, they
I
are.
think he meant the
Some,
photos that he added.
some of the pictures, some of the
Photographs. I think he meant
photographs.
those little few photos that he
The
stuck in the
few
one we
photos,
saw.
the photos that were in there,
The photos from
They were in the zoning.
the meetings?
in
They were in
the-
the
No.
zoning, right?
Oh, in the zoning
I think
ordinance?
aren't there photos in the zoning
Yeah, there
itself?
was- there was some-
Those photos he's talking about.
There were some photos that,
Like it was the
I don't
downtown
think-
Goffstown
Okay,
store.
I know some of them were actual Goffstown
Yeah,
photos.
we had very few, I think, but, I mean,
the
Well,
basis-
we have a tight schedule tonight, so I mean, if you're on a committee, you gotta have thick skin and take a little flack sometimes. I don't think that,
It's not thick skin, it's my career.
I know,
I'm
well,
being
no,
singled out
has anybody, I
on
don't,
this,
who's
and-
insulted
and
you?
As having an ulterior motive. And others on this board are being questioned as well. I've
but,
seen it out there, and I just don't want the rug pulled out where I don't have the ability to deal with it. I mean, I can't deal with it on being strictly on a committee. I can take the heat, I'm willing to take the fight, but I want to have backup, that's the main thing. And I would ask, John, is the planning board willing to do the similar review of it and support it as well? The effort, I'm not saying you have to support the plan, but the effort that's going on here so that we know we're working under the direction or cover of the selectmen and the planning board, who are in an elected position to respond to these things.
I'm going to answer that.
Please.
I think, I can't speak for the planning board, but I think that the planning board is made up of people who are very appreciative of what any committee that spends time to present them information to help in their decision of how to vote. So I can't imagine anybody on the planning board not, but I don't know, I can tell you myself.
Because I've read or seen rumblings that there's concern, that's why I'm bringing it up.
Well, if you're finished, I can,
yeah.
and I don't want to take much time because I know we're tight tonight, but, in the legislature, I can tell you this, I didn't know any of this stuff before I got elected to the legislature. And what I found was, when they talk about conflicts of interest, because this ad hoc committee is really similar to legislative committees. The Transportation Committee that I'm on, we talk about auto repair, we talk about safety inspections, we talk about Department of Safety. You've got the Education Committee, it's made up of mostly school teachers and educators. We've got the Judiciary Committee, which is made up mostly of judges and attorneys. We've got, so when we start, when these accusations of, and I can go on and on, every committee is loaded up with people who spend time on that particular industry as a career, and they may be retired, they may still be working in it. And who else would you rather have? Would you rather have, somebody with absolutely no experience talking about trying to come up with a reasonable plan, or do you want people with experience? I like the idea that we have engineers and real estate people.
Exactly.
And, and an attorney on the board with us, what we did. So I like all that stuff, and developers, and, and business people, and, I think it's a great group of people, and I really don't understand the accusations. I understand, the words that were coming out, but I really don't understand the premise for that, because whatever this committee decides, ultimately it's going to be decided at the planning board, and that's where the vote's going to happen. So,
What I could see as the basis of it is the HUD grant, period. I mean, there hasn't been much substantial criticism of the plan that we can really respond to. So that's what I'm trying to shed off and say, can you handle that? And we'll take care of the specific issues that come up, that is what we're supposed to be doing. I think this is a spectacular thing we have an opportunity to do, and I was excited about it when I heard about it, because I've studied these things. These are the books, and people are welcome to look at them. And I've read and studied on them, and they work. It's a great plan, it can work. We're going to fine tune it through the smart code, but if we can keep it moving forward, I just hate to have us get splintered and break off, we have a good mix of people here, and if we start losing people, it's less effective.
A lot of great ideas here.
Well,
The
with,
contracts.
with that being said,
Yep.
let's get to work on revising this plan. Now,
Thank you.
I'm sorry I couldn't give you a better answer, I mean,
I'll wait and see.
And I will ask the
Appreciate it.
planning board members, well, we won't have a meeting for 2 more weeks, but I will ask them.
Okay. I'd appreciate it, thank you.
Brian, you said that, excuse me. Brian, you said that you did not make any changes that we had recommended last meeting.
Not that are in front of you or on the table or anything else. I don't have a printed out document that, that shows that. I did try to update the computer version that I have here up on the screen as best as possible based on the comments. We'd only talked about a couple of pages, really.
Yeah, really, there was.
Right, but there was this one really significant change on the face page,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that really does need to be
yeah.
addressed.
So if
All
you
that
want,
needs to be
I'll pop that one up here and show you exactly how I worded it. Let me just expand this box here for a second.
It must look giant to you, Rosemary, sitting up there.
Well, I
Okay.
found out from experience that I wind up with a very sore neck at the end of the meeting because I'm turning around craning trying to figure out what it says, so I'm gonna slide over so that I can look at it a little bit more easily.
Okay, so,
Thank you, Andy.
last time we had concerns raised about the 6 livability principles that were developed as part of the Partnership for Sustainable Communities. And that, whether or not this plan had a relevance for all of them or not. What we kind of boiled it down to was, in our grant application, we selected 2 of those to really speak to them a little more fully. And we pulled those out and basically spoke to those as how we would try to address those issues. And then as part of the committee's vote, we decided we were gonna delete basically the language that was there and replace it with what was in that application. So basically I just wrote, this project looks to develop a plan and regulations in accordance with the 6 established livability principles developed by the Partnership for Sustainable Communities. We feel that our project specifically applies to each of the New Hampshire livability principles, but wish to highlight the 2 best fitting principles more specifically. They are the promotion of traditional settlement patterns and development design, and community and economic vitality. And then I just listed the other 4 principles, what they were. They are housing choices, transportation choices, natural resource functions and quality, and energy efficiency and climate change.
Everybody agree? Okay. Moving on to the acknowledgements page. There were some corrections in spelling of people's names.
Yep. So I corrected those. Jesse Lynn Tatro is spelled with an E, and Furlong is with a
The
G
G was gone.
on the end. And those
Okay.
are the last 2 that we had talked about.
That's as
right?
far as we
That's as far as we got.
Okay.
Now, my next one is on page 10. Does anybody have anything prior to that?
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll get to the next one that I have.
And some of mine are grammatical and typos, so.
Okay, so I'm on page.
I thought we already typoed this whole thing.
Oh, I found some more.
Oh my God.
This is page 7 of the PDF, but page. Yeah, page 7. Okay.
No, it's 10. It's 7.
So,
Oh, okay.
comment at the top. This plan reflects the ideas of an entire community. Mark Warden commented that he doesn't think so, and that 20 or 30 opinions in a room don't reflect the entire community.
I actually had marked that off someplace else that I thought that was true. But I don't know what page he's on because I don't see it.
Did you take away the word entire, to say a community?
Well,
Uh, This is
If
page
it was a
7.
community.
7.
Page 7 at the top,
Oh,
be
there
a
it
champion
is.
of the
Good.
plan.
So, I don't know if there's any suggestions on making a change there.
Remove entire. Community.
You could say reflect many different points of view, and just leave that in, because it
We
wasn't
could just
the.
say, could this, the common vision and guiding principles in this plan reflect the ideas that were generated during the planning process for this project, or something like that?
No, because a lot of things on here were not, that they put
Right.
in were not.
Now, I go along with Mark and say just delete the word entire.
I mean,
Cha-
it is a community and we have many different views and opinions.
Reflect the ideas of a community and include many different points of view. A bit of something for everyone.
So, the ideas of, the community, and include many, say that again?
Yeah, and then the rest of it just the way it is.
Okay, so that's it. Alright, so I'll delete this comment then up here.
Okay?
We'll leave that alone. Alright, down below, we encourage our elected and appointed officials of Goffstown and the many stakeholders and citizens in Pinardville of making the community vision a reality they can support. The comment on this was, this sentence doesn't make sense, grammar. I think the point was, our elected and appointed officials in Goffstown, maybe it's,
I think it makes sense.
we
I don't have a
encourage-
problem with
we
that.
encourage them to make the community vision a reality
Just like the
they
same
can
thing.
support. I mean, it's kind of maybe,
The first read is hard to find.
yeah.
I think we need,
I can just say to make instead of with making. Is that okay?
Yeah,
That's,
that's fine.
Alright.
yep. Next?
Next, bottom paragraph, even where changes,
That changed fast.
yeah. Even where changes in buildings, streets, and parks are shown on illustrations in this plan, no governmental action is proposed to implement these suggestions. Instead, these ideas are offered to the private sector as approaches to the future that cooperative efforts of all stakeholders may support. A comment on this was, this part is great and should be the entire introduction. So do we, if he likes it, I mean, do we want to change anything or move it up or change the location of it or?
I think it's fine where it is, and we also have it underneath each illustration
Yeah, it's
too.
been repeated throughout the plan, so.
We just close it out.
Okay, so I'll just delete that comment then. Alright,
Next?
working on getting to the next. I think we have a few pages in between. Now you say you have one on 10?
Yeah, it's a grammatical.
Okay, oop, that was 10 there. So-
Under policymaker interviews,
Yep. With all the planning board members, through these
says
interviews.
their valuable insights about to the planning, get rid of to.
Okay. Let's see.
Right there.
No, try this.
too small.
It's not selecting it, hang on. Well,
That one not there?
oh, maybe.
Click it.
I'm just gonna but delete too. Okay. All right, that's in there. Okay, next.
The next one I have is on page 24, so is there anything in between?
Um,
I have something on that page, but not even.
Yeah. Excuse me, Brian. On this policymaker interview, can we just make sure that, was there a one-on-one interview with all the planning board members in policymaking interviews?
planning board members that were in effect at the time, basically. So,
All of them? That's, I think John's point is,
I'm asking
was
if
it all
there
of
was
them?
a one-on-one interview where it's conducted with all the planning board members?
yeah.
They were? Okay.
Who were in office at the time, I guess, I don't know who.
Okay. I just didn't know all were, and I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure all were.
Good point.
That's all.
Okay, Cheryl, you said you have something on 24 also?
Yeah, I do,
Well, let's see if there's
Yeah.
anything between
okay.
Yeah.
page 10 and 24 first.
I'm just scrolling slowly so that way we don't miss any comments.
You can, if you hit the comment on the right, it'll jump to the next one.
Oh,
It says right there, it says page 36.
So they have something on 24.
okay, so back up to 24.
Yep.
Regional concerns.
See if we have the same thing.
Go ahead.
In the second column, third line down, it starts Pinardville, in fact, extends outside of Goffstown, etc. Pinardville is part of Goffstown, our border doesn't enter Manchester or Bedford, and I don't think we should imply that somehow our border extends outside of Goffstown. There's already this issue of Goffstown, Pinardville. And I think whatever ordinance we implement certainly isn't gonna extend outside our borders. Regardless of
Yeah.
whether people may view it that way, I think technically for a legal document, it should not.
Okay, I think the reason that was included is because some people define the Pinardville area as extending into Manchester, and honestly, I mean, yes, we are only doing the portion that's in Goffstown, and any part of Pinardville that is counted under the census count, I think, is only in the Goffstown portion, but I can't say that for sure.
But I agree with Cheryl,
But-
this is misleading.
Yeah.
So, I guess how would you propose that we change that, or do?
I would just take
wanna-
those two sentences out. One includes us in Manchester, one says we include parts of Bedford. We don't include either. I just think you take those two sentences right out of there.
Right?
Yeah,
As I interpret this, I understand where you're going, but I mean, you have to, when you get to the Pinard Square, you take a left, you go down Pinard, into Manchester, out of Manchester, well, into Manchester, take a left on Kimball Street, and you're back down into the Goffstown section, so I mean,
it's,
But it's still the
it's kinda
same,
like,
it's still
you know,
not Manchester or Bedford.
even before you cross over the Byron Bridge, there's a portion of land that's
Goffstown.
in,
Yeah.
in
Across the river.
Manchester.
I know,
Across
yeah.
Right.
People still count that as Pinardville, really, I mean, that's,
But legally it's not. We're talking about zoning laws are gonna grow out of this, which apply to our legal boundaries.
This is significant portions
Well,
of
so-
Manchester and Bedford.
but we're just talking about a regional concern that, you know, this plan has an effect, you know, on neighboring towns. I think that's really the point of this whole thing. If we wanna reword it to say that, I mean, maybe that's better, but,
Well, then we would have, Manchester would have to say their decisions impact us, which they do, but I just don't think it belongs in a legal document.
well, again, this isn't a legal document,
Well-
but,
It is and it isn't. What comes out of it will be, the zoning will be, so.
if it gets adopted, it would be an official document, but it wouldn't be a legally binding. It wouldn't-
Regulatory.
Yeah, it wouldn't make
Yeah,
you do
no.
anything.
I'm not saying it will, but I just don't think that we extend into Manchester or Bedford, we are Goffstown. We should have changed our zip code and that would have solved all this.
Thank you, I was
Yes,
on that
I
committee, I was
know.
on that committee too.
But even changing.
What happened, Rosemary?
even changing the zip code would not have affected those portions that we're
Oh, I
talking
know
about.
that. I understand.
So-
I know what you're saying in people's minds, but I just think technically,
Yeah.
we just stay within our boundaries.
Okay, does anybody else, I mean, do you guys agree with that, or?
Just trying to think how you could say it.
You could talk about, you know,
Historic.
the perception of the boundary.
Yeah.
Why is it so
Pinardville
important that
is
that be in there? What is it that, the
Possibly
point of it?
crosses boundaries, but,
They're
It's
talking
under
about how
regional concerns.
I know,
it's
but,
more like at the back end, it says it's a gateway for many
Yeah.
people living outside Pinardville or even outside the town of Goffstown.
yeah, so I mean, I think it's
And that's what it's
referenced.
trying to do, that it's not a hard line, that's what they're trying to say.
if you want, we can just say Pinardville, is sometimes perceived to extend outside of Goffstown to, you know, and that way we can, say, instead of saying in fact, we say
Yeah,
is
probably.
sometimes
Or we-
perceived,
I agree with that.
that way,
That you still
you know,
have to go through Manchester to get the Goffstown.
I mean, it says we serve Bedford and Manchester as our businesses,
You
so I
gotta cross
think,
the bridge and go down and get to Goffstown.
And if you go to Wilking Street, or William Street, you go up to the section of Pinardville at the top of the hill, you actually go through Manchester, you go through a section of Bedford,
Bedford.
depending on which way you're coming,
Which way you heading?
which way you're heading.
same thing going to where you go in and out of weird
I
pockets,
mean,
it's just strange
I
boundaries.
I know the statement really doesn't make, I won't say make sense, but I mean, it's not an incorrect statement, because depending on where you're at, I mean, our boundaries, depending the way the land is set up and the way the area is set up, yes, you could go across the bridge in Manchester, take a left on Kimball Street or Upland Street, and you're back down in the Docktown, or you go down Rockland Ave, take a left or right on Wilking Street or William Street, you go up the hill, you're going from Manchester, and you're in the Docktown, or if you're coming south-north, you go up, you're from the Bedford side.
I understand that, I know the boundaries, like, my house was lunch half and half, but
Could you say something like the community of Pinardville extends outside of Goffstown? You know, you get away from the
yeah, we're not,
city
I guess
thing,
we're not
you-
trying to define Pinardville as an actual city,
Right.
is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so like the community of, you know, because people maybe who live in the Manchester side may still say, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of how to word it. I mean, you could just remove it, but I don't know, you need to do
I like
something
that
in there,
idea,
replace it.
remove it,
I just say take it out.
remove it.
How does the sentence?
Well, Pinardville has sections in Manchester.
They border me.
Right, and that's why I say maybe you could say the community of Pinardville.
Just because, I mean, something to the exact, if the wording, because of the unique design of the community, we share common borders with other communities.
But all
That
towns
might
do.
work.
Yeah.
That might work, just to recognize that there's others, and then it flows into the next sentence, that shares the border.
What about just getting rid of the two words in fact?
Those definitely have to go, I would agree
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna make it simple, get rid of the impact, and Pinardville extends outside Goffstown, and there's portions, I mean,
I have no idea.
what's that?
DC.
Does it go off in here at a certain time?
So,
All of a sudden it gets hot in here, like unbearably, all of a
Because
sudden you
we're
just
working so
stuck
hard.
it. No, it's not.
Pull out of here.
All of a sudden, it's like it just seems to die off.
if I had the key, it's in
usually
that box
over
over
here.
there, and I don't have it.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you something.
Full of hot air, right?
So, if you want, we could just delete those two words in fact.
Cheryl, does
Yeah.
that,
That's fine, I'm hot, I don't care, delete, whatever. I'm gonna leave early if it stays hot, so it's okay.
Come sit on this side.
Yeah. It's no
cool over
cooler
here.
over there. Yeah, you cool cats, huh? Yeah.
Okay. So is there any other comments on that page?
no,
or-
that was the same one I had, so.
Okay.
My next one is on page 29. Does anybody have anything between 24 and 29?
I don't care, I'm not gonna, they don't care.
Which one is it?
Oh, they're on 29 now. I don't do what they want, I just wanna go home. I'm done, I'm hot, I'm done. I just wanna get out of here. It's so
This-
time.
Is it this one?
No? The next page.
Okay.
Public space goals is 29, Brian.
All right.
Okay.
Land use goals?
Up, keep going. Up.
Oh, that's 27, okay, sorry. I got 2 more pages here.
What page we had?
I do.
29.
All right,
Right there.
this is 29.
Yep, keep going, no, wait a minute, explore,
Right there, right here.
surrounding communities, get rid of that, it's not a sentence.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Should it have been and surrounding some communities, is that what you're trying to say?
Feasibility of joint use recreation
Pretty much covers
facilities
it.
in town of Bedford.
Three,
Okay,
pretty much covered.
maybe it's just a footnote.
Yeah.
I think, cut and paste.
Yeah.
You could say and surrounding communities if you want.
Yeah, but the three already covered.
Further up on that page, where it says encourage, it's, keep going. No, I take that back, it's my next,
Okay.
it's my next one. My
Okay.
next one is on page 31. Does anybody have anything before that? Okay, on page 31, Brian.
All right.
Okay. Encourage new startup. The phrase in the last sentence, and keep educated young people in Pinardville, I find that offensive.
How's that offensive?
Because I think there already are educated young people.
Right, we're saying we're keeping them
We want
here.
to keep them.
We want to keep them here versus having them leave and go somewhere else.
To another community.
But I think it could be, and I understand that, but I think it could be phrased differently.
Encourage them.
Because this way it sounds like there aren't any. And we're getting them out of St. A's and we want to hang on to them, which is true. But I just was not comfortable with the way it's phrased.
We could say and encourage.
Encourage educated young people to stay in Pinardville.
Okay.
I don't know, you need the comma after base? Should it grammatically, should it be comma after base?
Well, it's two separate thoughts, so.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not great in English.
Okay. What were you saying?
Put encourage in there instead of keep.
I did.
Okay.
Oh, you got two there.
Okay.
Anything else from anybody? All right, my next one is on page 35.
There's one 34.
We have,
Yeah, it was a 34, so.
No, 36.
No, I mean,
No, he has
Yeah, it
one
was
that's
36.
33.
was it 36? Okay.
Yeah, and my next one's 36.
Okay.
On page 35, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth,
Encourage the redevelopment of existing highway-style malls.
no, consider moving, where is it? It must be down.
Okay.
He's on the wrong page, I think.
Yeah, you're on the wrong page.
I am?
transportation goals, Brian.
Oh, okay.
You gotta go down. She's talking 35, you were on page 34 or 33.
Oh, sorry about that.
Keep going.
Oh, wait, you've got something
Okay,
here.
I've got one on this one then. We'll start with this one instead. So the comment here, change to, not everyone owns a car and many people do not or cannot drive cars for a variety of reasons. I think that was a comment that had been brought up
All of it are.
previous, oh, that was a
The
Paul
bicycle.
Paul
Yeah.
Ballard comment, yeah, that's right. So, anybody have any problem with that, or,
No?
okay, so we'll leave that alone. Alright, so transportation goals.
Right there. Get rid of it.
Consider improving the connectivity of dead-end streets where appropriate to reduce traffic congestion on Mass Road by creating alternate routes out of the neighborhoods be mindful of the need to avoid additional traffic or through traffic on narrow neighborhood streets. You wanna get rid of that one?
Yep.
Yeah, I delete that.
Because that goes with getting rid of all the,
Okay. Anybody have a problem with
That's just my notes.
doing that?
Nope.
And you had something on page 36?
Page 36, yeah, the comment was, it's very important to show some bicyclists and at least some of the images.
Which we know we can't
Yeah,
do.
we can't do that, so,
Can we, there's a lot of comments on bicycles, and I'm wondering, maybe globally, look at thoughts on how we can address some of the comments, because they're big spots throughout, there may be opportunities to do it, but just globally, do we agree that,
yeah, I
I
think,
think the comment is merit, and I thought so too, and I kind of agreed when I,
Now, the only
America do
comment
what
that
we
I
do.
didn't agree with was the one about putting pictures, because we can't change the
Right.
pictures.
I mean, it would be nice if there were some that had it, but the fact
Exactly.
is, we don't have that capability at this point, so.
Right.
I
But
think-
all of the rest of her comments regarding bicycling, I agreed with wholeheartedly. How about the rest of you?
oh yeah.
Yep.
And where it's in text, it's fairly simple, but.
Yeah, I
it's
still
in
think we should
imagery.
just kind of breeze through each one of them just to make sure that,
But it-
each one fits, basically.
Right, you can deal with that, but then we can come from that global idea,
Yeah.
and increase it, but, or you could come up with some bicycle images to go with or praise somewhere, something like that, just to get some imagery in there. Sometimes it helps, just, not to add it to the existing ones, but add it, bicycles somewhere if it fits.
Okay.
Free artwork dropped in.
Yeah.
So,
My next one was on
I'm gonna-
39.
I'm gonna delete this one though, since it's not really something we can do. Down below here, this was highlighted
We already did that.
with a comment.
Yeah,
Oh, that one we already went through.
Yep.
Okay. Transportation, oh, I must have backtracked.
Yep.
Backtracked somehow. Okay, community facilities. What's our next comment here?
Page 39 was my next one.
Okay,
Right there. It has not been moved to Jacques Flower Shop. It's been moved from the corner of Pinard and Mast, unless you want to say Cody's Corner, to Abington Square.
okay. Let's
So
change
it's
that.
inaccurate.
So I recently moved from the corner,
Korean War Memorial, isn't it? Or
Yep.
Korean.
Street and Mast Road to
Abington Square.
Abington Square
With the T or the?
Park. It's in the park, right?
Right,
Yep.
Yeah, that's the right spot.
I think so. And John is correct, I think it should say Korean War Memorial.
I agree with
Okay. So insert that. Okay.
My next one is on page 46. Is there anything between 39 and 46? Bless you.
Thank you.
I'm not watching anybody. I just-
Ice House District.
Yes. Number 5, providing new housing types. I'm not sure that that belongs in there at all, since we made the determination to remove anything to do with housing.
This might be where I need to jump in there. Is that something to deal with the housing? Were you looking to take that whole thing out?
either that or refine it so that it's, more of a mixed use where they are living facilities above commercial businesses.
We already have, I think that's already in here somewhere. Yeah, that's already in
Yeah.
Celebrate Ice House, so.
You want me to just read what it currently says?
No, we all have it in front of us. But see, this says that the plan incorporates the addition of new building types, including traditional, townhouses and live-work units in the housing stock, and that's not, I don't think, what the committee wants.
What else is new?
Well, I think
Yeah.
I think what,
I think
the
you're-
way I interpreted it was that it would be all commercial with the possibility of housing above the commercial.
Right. That could be a row house.
How about, can I just say, like, that first sentence, you know, maybe, I don't know that that's true. Currently, there are few housing options besides. So if you just say the plan incorporates the addition of new building types, including traditional row houses with work units and housing stock, Pinardville.
There's 48 apartments going behind Charlotte, so it's not few.
Right, that's what I'm saying, you know, get
Yeah.
rid of that, because currently in Pinardville, there are few housing options. I kind of disagree with that. I think there are housing options.
They are, definitely.
But the plan does incorporate, I don't know, this is my thought.
Well, but I think he changes the statement by saying there are few housing options to, there are few housing options besides single-family detached and conventional condominiums and apartments. What else is there besides that in Pinardville? There isn't anything
much
besides that. So I think the first statement is still true. Where you could make a change is saying, where it says the plan incorporates the addition of new building types, including traditional row houses. You could say, you could actually delete that sentence, because really, what the plan doesn't necessarily incorporate that. It just shows concepts of where you could do a mixed-use type style building. It doesn't actually incorporate anything. The zoning may actually do more to incorporate an allowance for those types of uses, but the plan, you know, it might encourage that type of use, but it doesn't necessarily incorporate it.
You could have it mixed use.
Does that make sense?
Well, that's what commercial with residential above is mixed use.
Right.
But I think that
We could generalize it and just say, the plan encourages, you know, additional types of housing in the form of mixed-use development.
John, you were
Something
gonna
like
say something?
That live works is mentioned twice. Is that workforce housing?
No,
No.
that's where you would have that, exactly that same
Commercial
on the bottom
with
residential on the top.
residential above.
Or an
That's-
office inside your unit, like you have an office door that goes to your office and then you live.
Yeah, where people
You can live and work out of your
people
own
can live and
property.
work
Right.
out of their
I
home.
get it. As long as, they've mentioned it twice there, that's why I'm making sure that that's not a smart kind of connotation that
No.
we need to decipher what it really means.
The building code actually defines live work units, and that's what they use. They're connected, they're within the same unit.
Okay, but that isn't talking about workforce housing.
No.
Workforce housing is more of a held structure as opposed to what the actual unit looks like.
All right, so Brian, what
should
were
we
you
change-
recommending?
Should we just change the word incorporates to encourages the addition of new building types, and just change that one word? Probably could change a little bit of the meaning of this. Encourages the addition of new building types
Traditional row houses.
to include mixed use and live work housing.
You could do row houses, comma, live work, and mixed use.
You know, but this is hinting to something that I don't think that I'm reading this as currently in Pinardville, there are a few housing options beside detached single-family house and conventional condominiums and apartments. What are the kind of, I understand,
Yeah,
but
I was
but
gonna take a
what
moment
we'd
to
like to
understand
encourage is, if at all housing, private investment housing.
The concept behind this type of planning is that everything is integrated, that the residential, the commercial, the retail, the office is all in the same development.
Right.
So you may have you could have retail on the first floor and units above it, or you could have office space with units next to it, or some way it's all integrated so that you can walk out of your unit, go to the store, or go out to work, and it's all within the same
I get it.
development. That's called mixed use, and that's what this is trying to get towards, and I think adding the word mixed use would help that. That's where it's headed.
Mixed use might help that, because this looks like that we've got conventional condos, apartments, and houses. We just don't have the mixed use
Right.
houses that we're looking for.
So remove live, work, and put mixed use in is what you're suggesting?
No, I put row house,
Because-
common live, work, and mixed use.
Remember, the HUD contract is looking for subsidized housing. And-
With the grant?
Yeah.
No.
No, the HUD attachment, the HUD contract attachment to this.
It's not in there. I read it, and it's not in there. They talk about low and very low income jobs, but they don't talk about housing.
Well, workforce housing can include, but is not limited to subsidizing affordable housing.
Right, it could.
Correct.
Right, it could be.
Okay, so you could build a whole mess of houses and says, okay, this is low income, you have,
That's part of the funding structure.
Well, let's not get into a discussion about HUD again, please. Let's deal with this. Do you all feel comfortable changing incorporates to encourage, or encourages, and adding in mixed use after row houses and live work?
I feel-
Yay, nay?
Yes.
I'm thinking.
I mean, we understand what row houses is, but when you put it out to the general public, row houses, what do you think they're gonna think of?
Austin.
Well, I'm just looking at the area that they're talking about, and I don't really see what they would put
I
in.
think probably the only area, and I'd have to look closer at the zoning code, that really even would allow for the row house type style would be that C5 district right at College.
Yeah.
That'd be really the only area where you would expect to see a row house type style, true row house where you're, using up the whole block kind of thing.
Well, you could see it in some of the districts too, within, let's say there's a strip of row houses with retail next door and across the street, across the parking lot.
Anywhere else, it would be a partial use of the block, and, they would be looking at, some yard in that district. Whereas I think in the zoning, we had seen that, in the C5 district, there's like no front yard, it's basically buildings along the front facade, the front property line, and yard in the back.
But that's zoning, and
Right, that's all zoning, but I'm just speaking to where we would expect to see something like that,
Dick, would you feel more comfortable if we changed the order in which we list the types of housing and said including mixed use, live work units, and traditional townhouses? Rather than having traditional townhouses be first, and that's the first thing you see.
And townhouses as opposed to row houses.
Yeah,
Places
fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's actually more in line with what I think the intention is.
Including, add the
Just
word
do a
including
cut and
mixed
paste.
use. row houses, right?
Traditional, get rid of, yeah, and make it,
Including mixed use, comma, delete traditional too?
yep,
That goes at the end.
So including mixed use, comma, live work units, comma, and, or live
No
work,
comma.
comma, and traditional townhouse units?
yep.
Okay, so insert here. And traditional townhouse style units or just townhouse?
Townhouse units.
Okay. To the housing stock of Pinardville. Okay.
Yep.
That good?
I have a problem with not just number 2, infilling those parking lots.
Actually, let's
buildings.
use
Number 2 on the same page?
Yes. I think that whole thing about infilling those parking lots is just gonna deter businesses from wanting to come here if we were to ever do something like that.
To infill like at the Shaws or?
Yeah,
Hannaford's
well,
parking
Hannaford
lots?
is private property, they already said that they wouldn't do it, but just the whole idea of it, to me, is deters a business from wanting to come here. They have to share their parking, they can't be seen from the street. I mean, we're supposed to be pro-business and attracting business, and we're gonna,
Yeah.
to me, looking at that, I'd say forget it. They're gonna take my parking spot up with other buildings, and then I'm gonna share my lot with my
Well,
customers.
I think again though, it's not that you would be looking at, I mean, no one's gonna come in and tell Shaw's or the businesses in that
I
location.
know, that's what they always
that
say for
that
this
they
plan.
have to lose their parking spots, number one. This would only occur if a redevelopment of the entire area were considered by the property owner. The property owner, you know, has the right to tell their businesses, look, you know, this is what I'm doing with my property, and if you know, I mean, that's part of leasing from a group that develops land and business space. But it's really gonna be just something that would happen if someone ended up deciding to redevelop that property as a whole. It wouldn't be, you know, okay, we're gonna put a building right here now and, you know, use up the parking right in front of your building so that you don't have any more. It's not, I don't think that's the goal. I think it's just to relocate parking so that it's not in an area where it's as visible, because frankly, parking is not that great to look at.
as well as if you locate the housing right there, your need for parking starts to get less need for the additional parking spaces, so people are walking and not driving.
People like to use their cars, I hate to tell you. I mean, we have 9 months of winter up here,
The trend is
Sorry,
going away
but
from it. The trend is moving away
maybe
from
for
it.
you.
No, not for me at all.
But-
I like my car too, but I'm saying the trend nationally is moving away from cars. That's what this is addressing.
I mean, I just think this is kind of one of the core concepts of creating a more livable community where you're, and this kind of feeds the way that the code is set up, because the code is set up to basically, you know, try to hide the parking in an area where it's not gonna be right out in front and screaming at, you know, here's, I'm a big sea of asphalt.
Well,
It's trying to look at developing in a way that the buildings are what make the street front, and you see a nice pretty building instead of, you know, big open empty parking lot. I know that's a big,
I'm not talking that you put it by
Plan
the street,
to-
I'm saying if you're gonna put buildings in a parking lot, the stores aren't where the customer's going to park. Shared parking doesn't even make sense. It really doesn't, that whole concept to me is ridiculous. If I live someplace, I want my parking spot available all the time.
You still provide parking on site for everyone, it's just you don't put it out in front, that's the only.
If
Well,
you
then how would
drive
you
by
share?
Shaw's in Hannaford, most of the time it's only half full.
A lot of underutilized
yeah.
land
Yeah,
there.
I mean, that was what they were trying to make use of.
And that actually,
A few times a year it's full.
with such a lack of developable area in Pinardville, that actually kind of provides maybe one of the best options for some future economic development in the
I guess I have to ask them, where's the outcry by the public in the town that they've wanted this? That's what I don't get. I haven't heard anybody complain, oh, those parking lots up front of Hannaford, they're so ugly, I wish they'd do something with them. I don't hear that from anybody. So why include all this stuff in here that nobody's asked for in the town? That's the part I don't get. And that's where you get all the negative, what you call negative feedback.
I can kind of speak to, you know, I live in the village, and I love the fact that I can walk downtown and hit a grocery store, get an ice cream, you know, go to the pharmacy. You know, I like that.
Okay, that's
And I
fine.
would think, you know, that other people may enjoy being able to walk out their door and do those
A lot of us
services.
do, but we don't wanna live in the parking lot.
And that's your choice.
But you're taking away the choice of business to have ample parking.
Let me give you the vision of future development, okay? Hannaford's is fairly recent, and some others recent, they're generally pushed away from the street with the parking in front. As more development goes, that is where it's headed, is you'll have this strip of Mass Road with building setback and parking in front. And that doesn't lend itself to be walkable in the sense that now you're walking through one parking lot, crossing Mass Road, another parking lot to get to the one across the street, versus everything up on the streetscape. Now you can walk the sidewalk and go into stores, and it fills a drive around back and come in different entrances, maybe in the back or walk around the front. But now you're providing more close proximity of shops so that people can go from one to the other. Maybe they go one shop, go to the next one to eat lunch, and go across the street to pick up something. And so they're moving around in the community in closer proximity to each other.
I understand the concept, I've heard it 5,000 times. What I'm saying is that even the businesses don't particularly care to have themselves street side. They like their parking in front if you go ask them. They prefer it in front. So,
I'm sure it's convenient, but do you want that for your community? Is that the community you want?
I haven't heard
Basically,
complaints
all
about
of-
it, is what I'm trying to tell you.
But this,
So this is what upsets people, and then you say you don't want people upset.
okay,
You're
if that's,
pushing
then
an
I guess
idea
that's
that
the
no one's asked
discussion that
for.
has to be had, is do we want Mass Road to be parking lots and left and right with buildings pushed back against the houses? That was the other complaint I did hear, that businesses are too close to my house when they live right on that neighboring site, right? The car wash, the Dunkin' Donuts, the mobile station and things like that are right up against the backyard of the building right there, right? So if you can pull the building away from it and parking behind it, then you've got some separation between that business and the house, and now, and create a buffer along that. Now you're giving some better relationship between the residential house right next to a business.
Okay, but this section talks about infilling these parking lots, that's what
Right.
I'm addressing, not some little corner house here.
Right.
So you're talking two different things.
Well, I was addressing your concern that people are outcrying about this, and they are. They
Okay,
are complaining
fine, we
about
can
these
argue.
things
Fine,
being so close.
okay, I've heard
And
enough.
if you look at the bus that goes by in the morning, okay, I have coffee and I watch. If you got 2, 3 people on the bus, man, it's loaded, okay? That's all. So there is public transportation that goes down to Shaw's, is it? And turns around, and goes back, nobody uses it. My wife would never walk from our house down to Shaw's to go food shop. You know, nobody does that.
I live right around the corner from Shaw's and I don't do that.
My point exactly.
That's, I think, all of our points. I mean, you know, if nobody's doing that now, it's because the character of a walkable neighborhood isn't there.
Well, and I
I think
think-
it would be more inviting if we helped to create that environment.
Well, I
And
think-
these are all things that would be addressed through the ordinances
Right.
once we get past the plan being adopted by the planning board. So, let us move on, please. Time is going. And it's getting, excuse me, getting warmer in here by the minute.
Before we jump, go back to 5,
Yeah,
clean up the language in 5 to coordinate the second paragraph in 5. Keep the same terminology going.
oh, yeah,
We need to remove in the next paragraph,
yeah, change row houses to townhouses and put in mixed use. Yeah, so put in mixed use.
Yeah, you just could say match above.
I'll do that. Match above.
Good point, thank you. Okay, moving on. My next one is on page 62. Is there anything between 46 and 62? Cheryl?
Nope, not a thing.
There's one on 52 here.
On 52?
So, I think this is a Paul Bedard comment. Says somewhere in this section, mention that Laurier Street provides a primary connection to the rail trail and should be improved to better accommodate pedestrian and bicycle traffic to and from Pinardville and
And I think we decided that we were gonna accept all of Paula's comments, with the exception of the one about putting bikes into the drawings, since that's not feasible.
Okay, well, this comment didn't necessarily tell me exactly where, so if you want to provide some direction on that one. It just says, mention that Laurier Street, you know, I can just put a sentence starting with Laurier Street provides a primary connection at the end of this if you like.
There's a, section 8 on 53 talks about the rail trail,
Right.
so that would be a logical spot.
On which page? 58?
The next page,
53, sorry.
Number 8.
Okay, so if I just,
so I did hear that people wanted access to the rail trail at the Planet Blue thing.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that there was nothing really in here addressing that.
Unfortunately, the rail trail is so low,
Yeah.
everything is up above and it's very steep to get into it.
right there.
Right there.
So I'll
Switchbacks.
just- Okay, so I'm just gonna add a comment.
Some fun on their big wheel.
Um,
Good job.
Let's put an elevator.
add language from page, what was it, 53? What's the other page?
It was page 50.
52,
50, I
52.
believe, is where we had that.
Yeah.
regarding Laurier Street. Okay. Or access, Laurier Street access.
That's good.
Okay.
And what are the other comments that are already there?
I'm just checking if there was any more in the previous, yeah, we gotta go back a little bit. Make sure there's nothing else. Okay, so that was the one there.
And I think that's page 50.
Oh, okay, I'll change that then. Okay, so then there was 2 comments here. Just
Yep,
adding
bicyclist.
and bicycle lanes where possible. Those are okay?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll change this one to say page 50. Okay, this one says add a space for in spite, that's okay, that's just a typo. This one says current access to the Goffstown Rail Trail in this area is through the Surratt Field This access point needs to be more prominent and open during the day, even when the ballpark is not in use. I think there was a statement about that, in number 7 here. The field complex should remain readily accessible, and the complex should be designed to have passive and active recreation opportunities.
When I was at the Planapalooza, I mean, there was people in the community who had said, it's always locked, it's open, it's not locked. They didn't know when the field was open, when it was not open, so.
It's only available by calling the Parks and Rec or
There was a sign that says you need a permit.
calling the town to be able to
So
get
that's a good point.
access to it.
You know, they
I don't know if there's an issue with being capped in the info.
Yeah, and those are kind of the statements that have been made, but, I mean, I think, my opinion at least is, if you're using it some of the times for kids to play on, then what's the difference between leaving it open more times during the day?
But I think this discourages people from using their bikes there if they see the gate locked or something. Is that the point? Current access to Goffstown Rail Trail is through this area and the door is always locked.
There's a fence that you can go through by people, but you can't put a bike through because it's a switchback. I think that's the idea. At one point maybe it was limited, but no, consider opening it.
So should I just add this language that she's
Yep.
written to like number
Yep.
7 here? Or I could add
Why?
it either 8 or 7, whichever one.
Why are we even saying currently there's an impression?
It's not an impression, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, that just sounds currently, what, somebody's, I mean, I don't think so. I don't have that impression, I don't know
Well,
what
there's
else
a sign
does.
that says used by permit only, the gates are locked and you can only go through the switchback by walking through, you can't even get a bike through. It's not even an impression, it is locked.
It is right, it's not locked, it's not,
No, it is.
No, it's
It
not.
is locked.
it is locked.
Yeah,
So we don't have an impression that it is, it
it
is.
is, it is.
Yeah,
So why do we that just sounds,
So then
We can just
currently,
say,
that sounds kind of like.
currently the Surratt ball fields are not accessible, get rid of,
Yeah,
there is
right,
the
there's no
impression.
impression, it is.
you know, that might have come out of that Planapalooza because a lot of people, again, at the table, they weren't sure. They're like, I think it's locked all the time, so maybe that's where
Right.
the person's picking it
So
up.
just delete those
Okay.
words.
I mean, it was 3 people at my table that didn't know the answer.
Okay.
alright, so that's,
Yeah,
Whatever
now,
it is,
that covers
Bring that
all
one
3
up
of those.
again.
I don't know.
This one?
No, next one.
For practice.
Okay, where to put that?
I can put it in number 8 if you want. Since it's saying access to the Goffstown Rail Trail.
Well, it applies to both.
Yeah.
I would put it in 7, because that leads to 8,
Okay.
instead of putting it in 8, which refers back.
Right, I'll just plug it in right there. Okay.
Okay.
Any other comments on that page? Or?
Yeah, in spite of the challenges of people face accessing it, Goffstown Trail is well utilized in spite of the challenges people face.
Where are you? I'm sorry.
And the
rail-
first sentence under number 8.
On rail trail is well utilized in spite of the challenges people face
Accessing it.
accessing it throughout the town. Doesn't sound inviting to want to go try it if it might happen to you. I mean, there shouldn't be a challenge of accessing the trail.
But there is.
But that's the point of this, the last portion.
It's like you can get on at the beginning or the end.
Nowhere in
But then in
But it's
between,
hard in between, so the people in the community can't just like
Unless you
go out
got
the
it.
door and.
You have to get on at a place, Moose Club or
Right.
Dana's Lynchville.
So you
or-
can't just jump on it anywhere. You gotta go find one of the locations where it's accessible, you know, from a trailhead, like at Moose Club, or, you know, at a street connection where you can go, drive down a street and actually walk onto the edge
Yeah.
of the trail.
Yeah, there's nothing in that paragraph that's not true.
Okay. So we'll leave that alone then?
Yep.
Okay.
My next one is 62 unless there's something,
I've got
Before
one,
that.
Yeah, let me just look here. 59. Okay. These are Paul out of the dark comments. Bicycle lanes are preferred instead of a planting strip. What do you guys think about? I know I think the planting strip was supposed to be like on the side of the road between the roadway and say like a sidewalk or something. You know, a recommended way of creating more of a complete street is to have the street, have a row of trees, which is where you would then have, that's like in your planting strip, and then have your sidewalks and your businesses on the outside, out, furthest out.
in my preferred life, it would be bicycle lanes are preferred as well as planting strips.
Yeah.
I'd love to have both. Unfortunately, Mass Road is so narrow
You don't have the
that
road.
having one, let alone both, is...
Common sense tells you can't do it, period. You can't have 2 rows, a foot of snow and trees.
Exactly.
It just don't make sense.
I would take
What do
the
you guys think?
bicycle, I would take the bicycle lane over planting.
Over the trees?
Yep.
You can't have a bicycle route on Mass Road.
Okay.
Or you could eliminate parking all on one side.
There's some areas
A lot
where
of
there's
towns
no
and
parking
cities
on
do
either
that.
side.
Okay.
They have parking on one side
One
side
side and the
only.
other side bike, so you accomplish the same as having your bike route. Of course, now you're gonna say to what business, oh, not on my side, I want parking on my side. Now you put businesses against each other.
I don't know that the issue is necessarily whether you do parking on one side or whatever. I think it's just a design issue that, you know, at some point in time, the town will have to undertake a significant design effort to figure out how to fit a bicycle lane in there if they ever wanted to. That'd be as far, you know, I think we say we'd love to see a bicycle lane if possible, and leave it at that. I mean,
Just like we'd love to see planting strips, but
You don't
again,
take the parking.
Yeah, you just put,
so you could say
Bicycle.
generous planting strip and or bicycle
Yeah.
lane or something like that.
Yep.
on-street parking.
and it says are recommended, it doesn't mean that
Right.
Right.
doesn't mean it's gonna happen because the reality is there isn't enough room.
Okay,
Use
so,
bicycle route instead of lane, and then it may not necessarily be right at the street, it could be a different way.
generous planting strip and or bicycle lane. Bicycle way.
Yeah.
Okay. And on-street parking where possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Safe routes to school, add bicycle lanes where possible. Do we need it in that sentence,
No.
or are we okay?
No.
Already said it.
Can you drop back to 56 real quick? So I'll see if your version is set.
Which page are we on here?
We're on 57.
Just one page back. Yeah, the formatting still,
Oh, yeah.
2 columns.
Okay, so, fix, let's see. Fix, formatting, for width of columns. Here.
It's details.
Graphic.
57's all good.
Yep.
58, 59. 60. Anybody got comments there? My
No,
next
mine-
one's on 64, I think.
Oh, my next one's on 62.
Oh, 62, I have one too here.
Well, mine is on number 1, where it says, cleaning up the intersection will allow safer access across Mast Road and create a 4-way stop. That would be a 4-way stop immediately after a traffic light. I don't think so. Because the traffic light is at Pinard and Mast. Laurier Street is the first street after the traffic light.
Talk about a
What do you
traffic jam.
suggest?
Yeah, delete that stop.
Well, it also says this intersection is confusing, can be dangerous, and I'm sorry, but I don't find it confusing or dangerous.
Just take out
Sure.
across Nash Road.
Because isn't Laurier Street one way at that point?
I've never heard of an accident there.
No, and I believe it's one way going off of Mast Road. You can't come onto Mast off of Laurier.
That's because it's too close to the intersection there.
So, that whole
Okay.
thing is,
So, you want me to just take out the cleaning up the intersection will allow safer access and 4-way stop?
Yes.
And this
Realignment.
intersection is confusing and dangerous, right?
yeah, because it's not confusing, it's not
I haven't had
dangerous.
any-
Okay. Just delete all that.
Yeah, it's unrelated to the rest of it too.
You want me to change this public space will provide, or change that to could provide?
Yep.
Or may.
And then down there, public space could become a neighborhood center.
Okay.
It's not vacant right now.
And that's, the comment that's there is the same one that was back on page 50, whatever it was, 56, 57.
Yeah, so use the same language here.
Yeah,
Same language. Page. Is it 57?
hang on.
Fifty-three.
Page 59.
Not 59.
It's 57,
It is 57?
yeah.
Alright.
I got a question on page 62.
Okay,
One, if we take out the 4-way stop, then Laura Street remains the way it is. Is that correct?
It should.
Okay, so if it remains the way it is, this is not gonna create
a realignment.
a realignment. It's not gonna create a common area for everybody. It's gonna be just the way it is.
Well, I think what Rosemary was talking about was a 4-way stop sign.
Yes, that's on Laura Street comes all the way down now to the intersection, okay? They wanna make the park, so Laurel Street comes down and goes and makes that four-way, which we're not gonna have anymore. So if we're not gonna have that anymore, then Laurel Street will still continue to where it is.
It's- I think we're trying to take out the four-way stop, leave the road as shown. It just doesn't have four stops.
Make it a one-way.
So still
Right,
do
am I right?
this.
Well, it is currently a one-way street off of Bath Road, and I would recommend keeping it that way.
Just, but still doing the realignment
In
the
But,
way that.
but doing the realignment.
In that configuration.
So you're gonna cut off Laurel Street from the intersection up a little ways.
It's gonna be like this.
As-
Instead of being at an angle, it would come out and be perpendicular to,
This is gonna take out the stop sign.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the street goes right
I know.
down here, you're gonna take that out completely.
Yes,
Yeah.
the trees.
no?
That's the proposed idea, so.
Right.
So the
Right.
proposed idea is to put trees there and stop people from parking at Cody's Diner and take away his parking for his customers.
No. That's,
That's what it is.
that's,
If you look at the map, that's what it is.
That's a separate issue.
Well,
But it's just conceptual, Dick, no, they don't have to do it. That's what they're gonna tell you.
so are you suggesting that we don't do we don't recommend the realignment,
well,
and just leave it the way it is?
just leave it the way it is.
So how could we say creating a center? Because I think that's the idea of this statement, is to create, this is like the welcome into Goffstown from Manchester.
well,
So
how-
how do you create a center there? that-
How big do you want the center to be? Okay?
Personally, just a sign
You
would
got, you got, you got 2 feet by 4 feet going out to Laurel Street between the sidewalk. That's all you got. The rest it belongs to MB Tractor, and the rest is Cody's property. So what are you gonna do?
Like I said, what would
Yeah.
satisfy me is just a sign, and have that sign that sits in front of the utility property moved, so that it's
Yeah.
closer to the border of Goffstown and Manchester.
But if we're looking to bring businesses in, if we start blocking off parking for their customers, what do you, you're choking them.
Here's one thought, I mean, you know, if this isn't a true center, I guess, that you want it to become, I mean, you could always just, you know, take the whole Cody's Corner concept out. That's one
Or
idea you could
propose
do.
other language to fit that paragraph, which I don't know what that would be.
You can change the words around any way you want, but you only got so much land to work with, period.
I think you're making the assumption that this happens as long as Cody is there. It's possible this could happen 20 years from now when they're sold and
Well,
something totally different.
I can't foresee the future, I can't see what is or is not. All I can deal with is deal right now
Right.
with a business in the town of Goffstown, trying to do business, and this cuts off his parking for that business. That's all I'm saying.
I guarantee this isn't gonna happen now.
Yeah, nobody
I mean,
would,
that's
nobody
the
would
whole
ever
point.
take his parking lot away from him.
You've got some,
You can't say nothing.
no. No public speaking. Sorry.
Okay, so
other corner, across the way.
what do we wanna do with this paragraph? Do we wanna eliminate it altogether? Do we wanna eliminate the entire section?
I'd eliminate the entire section if it were me, but you guys do what you want. Go back, keep it just the way it is.
So get rid of the entire Cody's Corner
Create a center.
node.
How about if you take away the picture and rephrase paragraph 1 to just talk about the general nature of creating a center? And take away the numbers. And don't call it Cody's Corner. I think that's really the issue, that the concern is that it's
Then-
focused on Cody and,
Well, it's just what everybody knows it as, I mean.
right.
The issue still remains.
So,
Then if you go back to that, I mean, whether it's Cody's or any other business, you're taking away a significant number of parking spaces over there.
Right, that's what I'm
Essentially, the
saying,
only
take away the
parking for
picture,
that building.
get rid of the picture, so that's not even part of it.
Yeah.
And then take away the numbers on the paragraphs and just leave, you know, like Pinardville entrance or something, we could call it, or gateway or whatever, some term like that, and then in creating center, just talk about creating a center as opposed to being so
I think that's the
specific.
point,
Yeah.
is create
That's really the
something
point of this,
that's-
is to create a center, not necessarily where it is. And so
Well,
we
to
can-
create a gateway into Goffstown.
Right.
Right, that's the point, is maybe it's a few shrubberies on the corners, or a sign, as Rosemary suggested, or something broader. So, maybe we take that whole issue away by
Yeah.
not tying it to Cody's corner,
Yep.
Cody per se, and Cody's corner. And we could call it Pinardville Gateway, and we keep the rest of the terminology in here, which I think is useful.
Yep.
Creating a gateway, I think, is important.
Or Byron's
I think
Bridge
this is-
Gateway or something like that.
I think this picture out of all of them has been the most
Yep.
difficult one for a lot of the community members to swallow, because they see, oh, well, you know, Mr. Cody's got a corner here and it's his parking area and it's being quote-unquote taken away.
And I gotta say, I agree. You know, that
So-
was one of the things I looked at and said, whoa, wait a minute.
So, I mean, I think doing what Rob is suggesting though, and you know, I was saying, you know, we don't have to keep it as Cody's corner, we can call it the Pinardville
Pinardville Gateway.
Gateway.
Gateway to Pinardville.
So,
But is that the gateway, or would the other end be? I just don't wanna confuse.
They're
If we
all-
name it that,
They're all these Auburn Towers.
Well,
It's consistent with that earlier language, that connect, it's
You could-
bordering Manchester and Bedford and coming through this line.
so is Pinardville Gateway okay?
Yep.
We could call it, exit,
Okay.
back door.
and then we're gonna eliminate the text and create a center and just retool that to be more general?
Well, I think we need to decide what we wanna keep out of this and what we don't, so,
Well, we wanna get rid of the map,
right.
we wanna get rid of the numbers.
Alright, I heard that.
Do we want any of to get rid of any of the language here on the front page?
I think I'm reading it now, and so far it's reading fine. Okay,
Cody's-
second sentence
We have
of
to
the second
change Cody's
paragraph.
corner, right?
Second, what's that, yeah, right there. This intersection, let's see. Yeah, so why don't you say this intersection?
Or, well, shouldn't we say
Or
the
is it-
gateway, the Pinardville Gateway?
Or is it, maybe it's still all right to call it Cody's Corner? I mean, is that a good term to use for it?
It'll identify with a lot of people.
Right, if it's an identifier, then it works. I'm suggesting it's famous thing.
Okay, so keep the name Cody's Corner, but delete the picture?
Yep.
New civic space. Okay, then the last,
So we're gonna keep the general section called Cody's Corner? Is that what you're saying?
no, just
No.
here.
I think it was
just
in
as
the
an
body of
idea.
the text, keep it there.
Yeah,
As an
second
identifier.
sentence,
So you wanna change his name still though?
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And so
Well, I think this,
Others agree.
this second sentence down below says Cody's Corner was suggested in this plan to establish a physical presence. I mean, that's kind of the name of this
Right, so it should be Pinardville
thing.
Gateway.
So if we wanna change one, we change both of them. If we wanna leave the name Cody's Corner, that's okay.
Pinardville Gateway at Cody's Corner.
I like that.
Or it says
So
the
you put
intersection.
Pinardville first and at Cody's Corner as an identification factor where it is.
Everybody okay with that?
I flunked English.
Next sentence starts the same way.
Okay, so I'll just say this gateway instead of Cody's Corner. Is that okay?
Yeah, are you gonna name it up above that way too?
No, like what we did, Pinardville
Okay.
Gateway at Cody's Corner, that's what he's done at the top.
That one you might be able to take out the first part of the sentence, a new civic space that will become the heart of the new mixed-use neighborhood center.
Oh,
You might be able to take out the first part of it and start it with a new.
So just delete this sentence altogether?
No, just the beginning, always, to start with a new.
Bless you.
Thank you.
A new civic space that will become the heart of the new mixed-use center, or provide a new, provide a new civic space that will become the heart.
I think if we just say this gateway's,
Yeah, I agree with this gateway.
this gateway,
You can read it, just slide your finger under that.
It's not embodied, no.
well, we'll just say this gateway could be, can become the heart of a new mixed-use
There you go.
neighborhood center.
Yep.
Could.
Could become, or is envisioned to become, maybe?
No, could become.
Alright.
Yeah, envisioned sounds like you're directing it to happen.
Yep.
Okay, so, let's see. Okay. Next page?
Picture.
We're gonna get rid of the map on 61 and 63.
Okay.
I think it's disappeared out of this, these, I believe.
Are we done with the Cody's Corner section?
We can edit quickly to item 1 and get it pretty much where we need it, I think. If you take out one sentence, 1, 2, 3, first 3 sentences, and just put a public space will provide a location for outdoor dining and gathering for other adjacent mixed-use buildings. The public space will become a neighborhood center and help establish this area as a physical gateway to Goffstown.
Start with this public
So,
space.
delete here,
It's called a public space.
Yep.
and,
And the top heading is create a center, so it kind
delete
of
this
sits
whole
on.
thing, right there,
Yep.
okay?
And change this to A. This public space, make it a public space.
Right there.
Yep, right there,
A public space?
right there. Get rid of that.
Moving like I'm gonna run out of mouse.
Sorry, I'm like,
Hey, man, it's not
Maybe
hard.
if we all had mouses.
okay,
And they get rid of the numbers.
so delete numbers. Just make it in text form,
Right,
okay?
then, moving on.
Need to be specific, but the Cody's Corners at the top of here too. You need to change the heading.
Yep,
Oh. So, let's see. That's Gateway, oh, Pinardville Gateway, that's right. At Cody's Corner.
right.
Okay.
Is that what you think?
Alright, so does any of the other text on the rest of the page have any issues with the way we've done it, or?
I don't see any other references to Cody's Corner.
Okay.
Then, moving on to the next section, I would delete it entirely. Pages 64 through 68, which deals with the campus.
St. Anselm College. I actually kind of wanted to speak to that one a little bit. I know that it was removed as part of like the focus for zoning but at least my feeling in talking to Bill Furlong afterwards was, you know, they may still be interested in, at some point, rezoning their land, you know, in some way. So would it make sense to keep this in the plan? Doesn't hurt anything keeping it in there, I think. And that way, that kind of gives them an opportunity in the future to, you know, base a proposed rezone on the current master plan.
Except that the ordinances that we're gonna be dealing with won't deal with that.
Not that we would be dealing with this
Right.
time around, but in the future, if they wanted to come back to the town and say, hey, we'd like to propose a rezoning on St. Anselm College, I mean, what's the,
If we put a section in there, just saying St. Anthony's College, possible future, future use,
Expansion.
future expansion with the town. I mean, we could leave it at that, and I mean, we could still delete all the other stuff that's there.
So you would do what? Would you change it from Innovation District to St. Anselm's College?
St. Anselm's College, yep.
And then what?
Possible future use for the expansion in or with the town. That's it, just leave it like that for future reference.
Do you want to connect the town to it though like that?
well, my thought is, I mean, you can still call it you can call it whatever you want. But to keep this stuff in there, I mean, it was good ideas that were generated about what could happen with St. A's. And they may want to look at that as, you know, something that they think is a good idea. I mean, maybe they don't. But in any case, we would have some type of, you know, general master plan type stuff that would feed into supporting a future rezone that they might want to do.
Innovation District, possible future use, and leave it just the way it is.
Hate to lose the idea up there.
Just possible future use.
So leave it as Innovation District?
Because the districts don't relate to the zoning map directly.
Correct.
There's no direct
Right.
correlation between the two, it's more areas of interest.
So you want to leave it in as Innovation District, possible future use for St. Anselm's College?
I mean, would that satisfy your,
I don't even think you have to add the possible, I think you just leave it alone, honestly.
I think this is, this innovation district about St. Anselm's, I mean, if you read that, why am I not seeing this right? Pinardville should feel like a college town.
it's not a college.
No, but it says Pinardville should feel like a college town. This is, you know, people are gonna read this. I mean, I'm just, you know, we're not,
Not like Durham or,
it's not like Durham, it's not like Gainesville, it's not like a whole bunch of places. Pinardville should feel like a college town. I don't get it, it has never felt like that for probably anybody that I've ever known or has ever lived here. I don't know why it should, I don't know why it would.
Would you want the students to be spending money down on Mass Road?
They do.
Jim,
Yeah,
would
but
you
the
be
college
people
is
market
very
on
self-contained.
Saturday night or Friday night? College
Yeah,
kids are there.
I think they do.
I think there is
Doesn't
somewhat
make
of a
sense.
feel that
Stay there now.
it's got the college atmosphere because of the student population here. Maybe the statement isn't,
I mean, they're just building a big dormitory on their property rather than doing it in Pinardville or somewhere else or privatizing it. I think St. Anselm's is, I mean, what it looks like is they want to maintain everything right there on their campus.
Oh, they're self-contained, they have food, drink,
They have
they
food,
bring in
drink.
movies, everything, they prefer to keep
I
the
think they'd
students on
like to
campus
create
as
their
much
own
as
little
possible.
community on their own campus rather than have the kids go
They
out to
do.
Pinardville. I mean, that's what it looks like. If they didn't, then they wouldn't have built a big dormitory or they wouldn't be
I mean, they
coming
have
through with a
the
big
theater,
dormitory
they
on
have
their
everything there, so.
property.
From working there 23 years, yeah, they are very self-contained and they.
I appreciate
like
it, just
that way.
looks like we're talking about things that don't exist. And this paragraph, this whole thing right here doesn't exist in reality. But we're trying to act like Pinardville's a college town, and it is absolutely not.
It's not an Ivy.
We don't even know when there's a football game going on.
Yeah.
We don't know when there's a hockey game or a basketball, we don't know. I mean, most college towns would have, you know.
Yeah, drive through Plymouth or Durham.
You know when there's a game that night.
Oh, yeah.
Pinardville is so separate, I mean, it really is. And to be saying this and trying to fool the readers and, or someone that doesn't, oh, wow, it isn't. They're gonna come here and be really disappointed. Because none of this, very little bit of this paragraph of that page is even truthful. I think if you read it closely, you'll, I mean, I've been here 12 years in Pinardville and, you know, boy, be high pressed.
So are you saying it's true Pinardville should feel like a college town, like the presence of the college is undetected? Are you agreeing that the college,
It's very-
presence of the
It's
college
totally
is
undetected.
undetected?
Yeah.
So do you think it should be a relationship that should be nurtured to create a better
I don't know that that's.
community?
I
In
don't
this
know if
century,
that's
I
what
mean, when do you
people
think
would
it's
want.
gonna,
Or
you
should
know,
it be
when's it gonna happen?
separated, continue with separation?
I don't know if people would want it to be a college town the way that implies. I see what you're saying.
I don't think
you're
it's,
talking
I
about
don't think,
innovation and businesses at the end.
I think the community would welcome them. I just don't think they're, there just seems to be, you know, hey, we're gonna do it, we're gonna set up our shop on our property and, you know, and
Do you want that to continue?
it's not up to me,
It's up to them.
it's not up to me.
They're a private entity.
It's not up to the plan of the town, I mean,
But the bottom line is that St. Anselm's College will buy every single piece of property that comes up for sale adjacent to their property.
They're doing that now.
They've been doing that. If you were to take a map of 10 years ago of St. Anselm's College, and correct me if I'm wrong now, please, okay? And you look at it year after year
They're
after
building a
year
city.
after year, they're building a city within a city.
right, I mean, come on, you know, that's why I'm saying, I'm reading this going, you know, who's dreaming about this to happen? It ain't gonna happen. And I don't know why we're trying to promote it as we're a college town. We're not.
Well, that's why I
We
wanted
love
to,
the college being
that's
there.
why I wanted to get
I
rid
would
of the
just
whole
take it right
section.
out, yeah, that's
Take it
what
right
I
out.
think. I would
Take
take
it
it
right
right
out.
out.
And we've already, we've already voted to not have the college, the campus
In the zoning.
in the zoning. So what are we doing talking about St. Anselm's? I mean, if they wanna come into the future, that's fine, but that's not the present.
I would just take it
So,
out, I agree with
Take,
Rosemary.
take out
And
section
64,
64 through 58.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, and as a result of what we've done with Cody's Corner, if you'll go back to page 42, where we talk about the activity centers, we need to change Cody's Corner to read Pinardville Gateway at Cody's Corner.
Yeah.
Delete Innovation District, and up in the body, it says, the activity center plans detailed in this section show one potential development outcome for 5, change it to 4.
Okay, hang on. Which page are you on?
42. Bless you.
Oh, you have a picture to change, if you can.
Okay, now tell me where you're at.
In the body of the
Okay.
paragraph, where it
Sixth
says for
line down.
5,
Or 6 lines down.
Right here.
first column.
Okay.
it should say 4.
Okay, what page is that on?
42. Then go down. Change this to Pinardville Gateway at Cody's Corner.
Okay.
And get rid of this one altogether.
Oops, that would have been a bad one, Brian.
Not all that.
Yeah.
And then also we'll have to amend this.
And the map there.
Yeah,
So
amend the
now,
map if
I
you
don't-
can.
I don't know if we can amend the map or not, but I'll try to figure out how we can do that.
Then on page 3, which is the table of contents,
I just want to put a note here. Okay,
all right, now go to page 3,
great.
which is the table of contents. Okay, and under plan framework, Cody's Corner changed to Pinardville Gateway at Cody's Corner. And get rid of that one, including the page number.
I'll do it. Okay.
And that's all I had, which I think is sufficient. Does anybody else have anything more?
One thing we can consider is a statement to put in here, offer, maybe I didn't want to take time at the beginning, but I made copies of it, and you can read it and see if it's helpful. After some of the discussion, maybe it's useful, maybe it's not, we'll see, but I'll explain. The reasoning behind it a little bit was based on some of the things in study with these kind of planned communities, and also based on Brian's comment in his email about taking out residential uses, building types and that. Just wanted to build on that and maybe sharpen that point a little bit that we can put in here, having to do with mixed use, the direction of development is, that development is headed in our areas in the country. Many people do want to drive to work and weekly shopping. Basically, when you integrate the mixed use, the business and the residential mixed together, that is what is attracting people to the community. And it kind of builds on itself. So you have business with residential nearby, and then businesses want to locate there, and it starts to build on itself, and that's what helps build these neighborhoods. The idea being that the existing houses would remain as is outside of this area, and offering a statement that deals with that, not tearing down the residential areas and building apartments, but to stick to the master corridor, and only dealing with the commercial area. Also dealing with mixed income, where you try to address low to high incomes in the area, you appeal to all income levels. This is helped by the commercial, residential, and housing integration through the mixed use. And therefore, when you do that, you don't tend to need government funding or subsidized housing. It's just naturally affordable based on the density and the integration with the commercial and retail to carry the load of the project costs. I would suggest that maybe early on in Pinardville's founding that there was some of this similar concept in terms of lot sizes and the houses were following an idea of trying to make things affordable based on that. So this is following along in that concept. The concern also being that if we leave it at the zoning and all that as is, what we're getting now may continue. So the statement that I offer is there. I'll just read it and see if it's useful or not. Goal for the new housing is to be naturally affordable due to the density and its design aspects that reduce the development cost per unit per square foot. Development based on subsidies or government funding should not be encouraged or given extraordinary treatment in order to reduce costs normally associated with new projects. All housing should be encouraged to be geared towards all income levels from very low to high income, which is commonly referred to as mixed income developments. Is the intention that the proposed housing is also mixed in with commercial business and or retail uses, commonly referred to as mixed use developments. This will increase the tax base while also providing new and small sized housing at a lower cost to develop, therefore making it naturally affordable. This development objective is just for the Mass Road corridor as defined on the zoning map, which we will deal with later. The residential neighborhoods outside the Mass Road corridor are to remain as is in character, density, and appearance to maintain the overall identity of Pinardville. So I offer that. It's something I'm scratching my head over in the last week, try to kind of hone some of the issues that we've been grappling with and see if it's useful or not, and see what others think if we want to insert it somewhere, maybe towards the beginning of the community plan.
Comments?
Where are you proposing this being put in here? Just trying to understand.
Forward, or, let me give that part, hold on a thought there, but, the introduction, maybe how to use the plan, but I think it's already pretty solid as it is, but the forward might make sense. Somewhere up front, and forward talks more about goals and that, so, goals in it, you know, it can be edited to, or changed, or shaped. But it would be useful to just put it on the table.
My concern is that it says the goal for the new housing.
Yeah, I think some grammar and wording needs to be adjusted in this so that it makes sense and it's clear as to what, you know, what the intention is.
Because we're not looking for new housing.
But if you don't have new housing, you don't have the growth and the increase that businesses need in order to locate. They're looking for growth in an area in order to locate business there. And so somehow we have to be allowing for some housing, and it can be tight and in that Mass Road corridor, just in that commercial district. But if you don't have growth, you have stagnant community, what is the reason for business to locate there if it's captive where it's going to be? I guess, and
Well, if it's
there
the
is
right,
intention for housing. It's not necessarily what some of it's been characterized, but some of the intention here is for additional housing.
I think throughout the plan, we've still left in, you know, opportunities for mixed use and that type of thing. I don't know that we need to necessarily change any, you know, make an additional statement. I think this type of statement would have been good if somebody tonight had proposed, you know, let's take out every single, you know, little word that even mentions residential. But, you know, I didn't see that happen tonight. I think the plan does basically speak to this issue. I don't know if there's anything really necessarily different than what we've got already that says, you know, we're encouraging mixed use, we're encouraging, you know, those types of new types of dwellings in that type of fashion, but
yeah, I don't think it's necessary either, really. I think
Anybody
that's
else?
my thought.
Okay, we have finished our plan. Next step is to submit this to the planning board
once it's,
on September 12th.
will we get copies before then of all the revised plans?
That was my next question. We gotta stop thinking alike.
I know, it's scary.
What we have on, I mean, with this, you know, corrected version of, you know, everything we talked about tonight, you know, we've got a plan that has all the corrections that need to be made. That will obviously be provided in a corrected manner once it's done to you and to the planning board. So, you know, I don't think we have to necessarily have the corrected version in front of us in order to make a recommendation, because we sort of have that with.
Well, no, are we gonna get a copy though at some point?
Right.
Yeah,
Before it
yeah,
goes to the planning board, so we have it in our hand?
And my next question is, what is our role on the 12th of September? Do we have a role? Do we need to be present, and if so, all of us, one of us, three of us? None of us?
I think as many people from the committee that can show up should come and, you know, at least show that you're here and you're, you know, whatever you recommend tonight to the planning board, that's what you're there to speak to. And, you know, if you want to designate one person from the committee or allow for, you know, different members of the committee to get up and, you know, say something regarding it, then, you know, that would be, I think, acceptable either way. But, you know, there should be a presence from this committee at the public hearing for the planning board, for sure.
Okay. All right.
Is there gonna be an opportunity to speak?
Yeah, it'll be a public hearing. So anyone anyone that
Is it a
wants
public
to
hearing
speak.
or a public meeting?
A public hearing,
On the 12th?
yep,
Okay.
will be noticed.
So we could speak if we wanted to, right?
Yep.
What did you say, Dick?
I'll be there.
You'll be there? Okay.
I'll be there, yeah.
Chances are I will be there also.
That's a that's
Thursday's the
Thursday
12th.
night.
Thursday,
Yeah.
7 o'clock, correct?
Yep.
All right, with that in mind, do I have a motion to recommend this to the planning board? Somebody?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Abstaining? 2 noes, 5 yeses.
Who was against?
Mr. Gamache and Ms. Anderson. Is there any other business to come before this committee tonight? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Do we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much for all of your work, and
To Brian Rose, okay, that I would like stamped, and I would like a copy of it, and also to Selectman LeMay to bring back to the Selectman's office. And also, there's a letter that was written from Mr. and Mrs. Cody, dated August 8th, expressing their concerns about Pinardville that were never